Chris here with OnePlus's flagship killer. Oh, no, can't really call it that anymore. The 7 Pro from them is their most expensive mobile to date. It's their fastest mobile to date. It has an amazing 1440p screen on this with a 90Hz refresh rate. One of the best panels I've seen. No notches on this either. It's got a pop-up camera. Top-end Snapdragon 855 with 6 to 12 gigabytes of RAM and a top 256 gigabyte of UFS 3 storage, which is super fast, the fastest I've seen yet. So does this mobile here live up to the hype? Let's find out.
Now, I just wanted to point out that this video is sponsored by Trading Shenzhen. They made this possible. Without their help, I wouldn't have been able to buy this particular model because OnePlus UK and Spain both did not want to send me a review loan unit, which is really disappointing, but oh well, that's just how it is. So in the box, you get the SIM tray tool, some leaflets. We've got a TPU case, which is okay. It's a clear one, and it's better than nothing, of course. We have the Warp charger, so this is 30 watts, and it can charge the phone really quick. So in about 30 minutes, you're going to get about 53% battery, and it will fully charge in 1 hour and 20 minutes, and the trademark red USB cable, so it's USB to Type-C. The phone's approximately 9.2 millimeters thick, and it weighs a hefty 109 grams, meaning it's slightly heavier than most flagships. On the bottom of the phone, you will find our SIM tray. So the outer part of the SIM tray is metal with a rubber gasket around it. So this has a splash resistance, but no official IP rating. It takes 2 nano SIMs, no micro SD card support, and the maximum storage you have is that 256 gigabytes. So that's all you got. Okay, you're gonna have to make do with that. 2 microphones, the Type-C port, which does actually support video out this time around, so it's USB 3.1, and it will support power delivery too, up to 15 watts. So the back of the phone is glass clad. It has curved edges, so in-hand feels really good, and stating the obvious, it is of course very slippery. And no, I'm not about to push a certain skin brand. Do whatever you want with the phone. Just use the case and of course it won't be as slippery. So the cameras on the rear, we have a 16 megapixel ultra wide, 48 megapixel main sensor, and then an 8 megapixel 3x zoom. So it's not completely 3x optical, we've recently discovered. It's a little bit of digital and a little bit of optical. Below the camera module, which sticks out by about 1 millimeter, you'll find a dual tone LED flash. So this phone really is all about the screen and the experience, having a 90Hz refresh rate, and the fact that it does not have a notch. So we have a traditional earpiece at the top that doubles as a secondary loudspeaker, and the camera you saw just popped up then only takes about a second. It's a 16 megapixel sensor with an f2.0 aperture. On the right hand side we'll find the power button. Just above it's our alert slider, which is very convenient. You can just with a flick of the switch put the phone into silent mode. That just leaves our volume buttons, which are on the upper left-hand side. Note just above it, you can see there 2 of our antenna lines. Now taking a look at this display on here. So it is a very good display. It's a stunning display on this. It's an AMOLED panel. It has a 90Hz refresh rate, which is really the star of the show. The whole screen is. It's a 1440p panel, so the resolution is 3120 by 1440. The gamma checks out to be almost 2.2. As you can see here, it's about 2.3. Maximum brightness tops out at almost 700 lux, which is great. And it does come with a pre-applied screen protector. And as you'd expect with that refresh rate, it does come at a bit of a cost of the battery life. Now, me personally, I would rather just have a 1440p display like the one in, say, the S10 Plus and the 60Hz. I'll be happy with that because I think battery life is a little more important. But it does make the user experience really good. So it's so smooth, and it just comes around to as soon as you touch it, the touch input lag, there is like nothing there. It is so responsive, this screen. Edge detection as well is way better than I thought it would be. I've had problems with displays that have the curvature on them, so my P30 Pro, and when I tested out a Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus, I had a lot of issues with the missed touches, accidental touches on the curvature of the screen, on the edges, but not with the OnePlus 7 Pro here. You can also adjust the display under the settings right here as shown. Now size-wise, how does it compare to the Huawei P30 Pro? Now I'm showing this phone because it happens to be the only other flagship phone that I own. It's just marginally taller, marginally wider. If you have a look, see, put them on top of each other like that. Not much really in them. So a lot of people are saying that the OnePlus is absolutely huge, OnePlus 7 Pro. Well, it's not really. Now I wanted to do a very quick speed test. Let's just check now the fingerprint readers here. They're actually about the same. Now I haven't set up a different thumb. I always use the same one here. So let's just do this, okay? It takes about a second. You can see maybe a little slower there on the P30 Pro, and then that's actually a lot quicker on the OnePlus. You can see that fingerprint unlocking for me is really, really good. Now what is not as fast and to be expected is the face unlocking because of the pop-up camera. And you'll see now just how fast it is. So just tap it to unlock, looks at me, and how's that? Really quite quick. Almost as quick as the non-pop-up cameras. It really is fast. I'll do that one more time, okay? Let's time this. I'm touching it now. 2 seconds. About just under maybe 2 seconds. But for me, that's actually acceptable. That's fine. I thought it was going to be a lot worse than this. So let's talk about the ROM performance. Something I've always liked with OnePlus is their Oxygen OS. It's really well optimized, it's super smooth and very quick. Minimal bloat. There's a little bit on there you get from OnePlus, a couple of their applications here you can see. And you do get Netflix pre-installed, but other than that, it's really good. Now, of course, running at the 90 Hz refresh rate, 90 frames per second. It's really the UI that's only supporting that because other applications are going to be like 60 Hz, of course. It is really, really smooth and fluid. I mean, take a look at Chrome here. Everything just loads in really quick. The scrolling is super smooth. The same goes for Twitter there. And when you go through your different apps here, multitasking, really good. Same with split screen, just swapping between everything. Really, really good. Absolutely no problems whatsoever, no stutters. You're seeing all your notifications at the top. They're not disappearing or anything stupid like that. Now I wanted to go through some of my benchmarks here. So here we have Antutu, as expected, for Snapdragon 855. Blazing fast, really quick. This is a top score. It has Android's top GPU as well, so that's to be expected. Now wireless is really, really good on this. I mean, the best that I have seen. Look at the speeds we can get. That's close to the router, of course. But even on the other side of the studio here, it can maintain over 230 megabits per second. I've not seen this before. Really, really good there. But I did encounter this. There is a small bug that I encountered that sometimes it does not want to actually connect up to the wireless. And I don't know why this is. I have them set up here. I've got wireless set up on both the 2G and the 5G. And for some reason, wouldn't connect until I turned wireless off and back on again. So that's just a minor thing that OnePlus need to patch there. So LTE 4G plus speeds I connected up to, no problems, good signal strength, no issues to encounter there. Also voice calls, to mention that, made a voice call on it. Sounds fine, perfect to me, no issues. So that's good. And that's just the wireless speeds through my router, getting the absolute top speed that my fiber line has here, which is 300 megabits. It is a dual frequency GPS that it's got on here, okay? So when you look under the CF, carrier frequency, you can confirm we're getting onto the European, US, Russian, Chinese satellites, all working. Widevine level 1 support, Netflix, Amazon Prime, all in full HD, and UFS 3 storage. This is the first time I have benchmarked UFS 3 storage, and wow, it's fast. Look at those sequential reads. Okay, so that is really good. 1400 megabytes per second. Random reads are good. Sequential writes aren't quite as fast as I was expecting, but still, of course, very, very good. Absolutely no bottlenecks whatsoever with our storage. So performance on this phone is, yes, believe the hype, Android's fastest. So on first boot with the 256 gigabyte version, you're going to have approximately 230 gigabytes free. And like all of my videos and my reviews I do, I make sure I'm on the latest firmware, and this is of course at the time of this video. Quickly wanted to touch on the haptic feedback motor that yes, it does feel better. It gives a very nice crisp response. Typing on the keyboard as a result, I feel is just a little bit better. And it does come with Google's Gboard by default. That brings me on to our audio quality. So we don't have a 3.5mm to Type-C adapter. You need to supply one of those yourself. I thought that would have been included in the box, but no, they're saving money on that. So we have a secondary speaker right up here, and it does sound decent, the sound output. It's great to have dual loudspeakers again, because I'm sorely missing that on my P30 Pro. There is one minor complaint though, is there is a bit of vibration on 100% volume that is coming out of that top speaker. It all depends on the track you're listening to. Now the output from the Type-C port, if you're using some 3.5mm headphones or Bluetooth and everything like that, to me it sounds perfectly fine, no complaints. It's not the best, absolute best quality I've heard out of a 3.5mm adapter from Type-C, but it's all good. So here's that sample now from the speakers. So before I get onto the camera samples, I wanted just to point out a few things here. So we've got 4K, 4K 60, which does look quite sharp and of course very fluid and smooth, but boy does it burn through the battery when you start recording with that one. Now I can't give you a sample of that in this video because there's no point. This is encoded at only 30 frames per second, this particular video of mine. Now you swap between here the 3 times zoom. Now it's not a full 3 times optical, it's partly digital, but no wide angle, okay? Which would be nice if we could then transition between the wide, the zoom, and then our normal tele would be great. We have a pro camera mode on there too. Now this lets us tweak the shutter rate, the exposure, the focus, and ISO white balance. But what is missing is video. I would love to have an extra button here and we could have manual pro video settings. So if you want the 48 megapixel shot, that's right here. If you want to shoot in RAW, that is also that other setting right there, which is great to have these options here, of course. Here's a sample of front-facing video. So the weather's against me. The next couple of days, bad weather here, and it's starting to rain a little bit. So a good chance to test out a little bit of that splash resistance that it apparently has. So the video does have electronic image stabilization. There's quite a bit of a crop, so you really have to stretch your arm right out. And of course it's fixed focus, so no autofocus on this one. Quality itself I think is okay. The audio could be improved upon because the bit rate's a little bit low, as you can see. So this is a 4K 30 frames per second sample. You get 10 minutes maximum recording with this. 60 frames per second 4K, you get 5 minutes. We can swap over to the 3 times lens. As you can see, the quality downgrades massively, nowhere near as good. And unlike other manufacturers, we cannot swap over to the ultra-wide camera, which is unfortunate. Now hopefully with firmware updates, they can add that. So the electronic image stabilization is working well here, but I have noticed that every, say, 1 times out of 10, sometimes the electronic image stabilization isn't actually working. So it's a little bit of a bug there. Back over to that 3 times. And I'll just walk down these stairs to demonstrate how smooth this is. Still, I feel the video quality is a little bit soft compared to other flagships. Taking a look at a gaming performance now. So this title is Elder Scrolls Blades, and one of the more demanding games, running very smooth as you'd expect for Android's top GPU. So PUBG is running well, as you can see, super smooth, no problems when you use the scope. Now notice how you can't even see the A of Alive here because of the curvature of the screen. At least the scaling is good. There's no border or bar on the left or right, which happens with a lot of games. And this is Shadowgun Legends. So those loudspeakers really do add to the immersion playing a game like this. And even on the high settings, so it's ultra high, 60 frames per second, you can see it's really smooth and it does look really good, running great here. Now I can give you an estimate on battery life. I will have an updated video, which will be like 4 days or a week later with the phone. But it's looking to me with heavy use, which I've currently been doing, taking a lot of photos, a little bit of gaming. Brightness is set to about 40% manually. I'm looking at about 15% loss per hour. So a 7-hour screen on time, mostly on wireless. So for demanding users out there, you're probably going to struggle to make it through a full day with this phone. So it's not the most efficient because of the 90 Hertz. Now, if you change it to the 60 Hertz setting, it'll save certainly a bit of battery life, increase your screen on time. But with light use, I can see possibly 2 days with this. But again, I'll have that updated video.
What I like about this phone is the screen. The build quality is really good. It's not really too heavy. It's a little bit bulkier than most phones, by about 15 to 20 grams or so. But size-wise, it's actually okay. I'm used to larger phones. For me personally, it's not going to be a problem there. The speed of it, really fast. Okay, you'd expect that for the Snapdragon 855 and the UFS 3 storage, but it's OnePlus's optimization on top of this. The fact that their launch is not bloated, their skin's not bloated, I should say. They're not cramming all this junk in there that we don't need, which is great. You get a couple of apps on there, but that is really it. So it is the fastest Android phone to date that I've used. It is really that quick. Now the pop-up camera and the all-screen experience is great, but this camera isn't as slow as I thought it would be with the face unlocking. So when you set it up, it takes about 2 seconds to pop up and unlock and then pop back down. So that's not actually too bad if you must have face unlocking. The fingerprint reader is working really well. Now it is about 9 out of 10 times for me. It's quite quick. You're noticing the improvements they're making with the scanners on the fingerprint readers. It's coming through to the end users, and that is good to see. It's still not quite as fast as the fingerprint scanners on the rear of the phones, however. Now speaking of the rear with the cameras, now they're still not as good as other flagships, okay? So if OnePlus wants to compete with the likes of, say, Apple, or at least in the Android ecosystem, they want to compete with Huawei, which might be having problems at the moment anyway, so no one's going to be competing with them. But with Samsung, they need to improve their camera quality still. They need to improve their video quality, audio quality. The bit rate is quite low. That needs to be improved. Now I have noticed also, there's a bit of a bug with the wireless. Now the wireless speed, as I commented on in this video, is really fast. The fastest I have seen. It's so good for a mobile. Good range as well. There is a problem, however, though. If you leave your house, you leave your apartment, and you're off the wireless, you come back in, you've got wireless enabled. I noticed that there's a bit of a glitch, a bit of a bug, that sometimes it sits there that it's not detecting. Once you swap over from, say, data to wireless, it won't just jump straight away from time to time onto your networks. There's a little bit of a bug there that's happening, at least with my unit, but it's not always there. It's just a minor little annoyance, and I'm sure OnePlus are probably aware of it. Hopefully they're going to fix that. Now GPS is working well, call quality is working really good as well. Very fast to charge this phone, okay. But that for me is still not an excuse to drop wireless charging. You want to compete with the big boys, all the big boy phones, they've all got wireless charging, and it's just so convenient to get your phone and just simply place it down on a wireless charger. And even though it's a lot slower than dash charging, it's the convenience of not having to plug it in. So really, with the glass back on it, they've got NFC, they need to add wireless charging. But maybe that might be in the OnePlus 7T Pro if that finally comes out, or if it does come out. Battery life, that's another area of weakness, okay? I've noticed that with my consumption here, that my own personal use, I can give a I think a good estimate that it's gonna be about 1.5 days for me. Now with my P30 Pro, which is my current phone that I'm using, I can get 2.5 days, 2 days at least. It's really good, the battery life on that one, so it's not gonna be the same here. Even though the Snapdragon 855 is efficient, it's the 90 Hertz that's killing it. So if you drop down the screen refresh rate to 60, then it's going to be an improvement. Now, if you're a OnePlus 6T owner, should you buy this phone? I believe you might get a bit of buyer's remorse from it, because the OnePlus 6T is still very, very fast, and the difference in the refresh rate, the screen, isn't really going to be that much of a difference, I feel, to warrant paying that extra price to get this. Now, this is an expensive phone. OnePlus is most expensive as well, and it's a bit disappointing to see they're dropping out of that, you know, they were the flagship killer. I kind of hate that phrase, but it's now only really Xiaomi that we have, and Realme, maybe, and Redmi, okay? So those brands But OnePlus no longer wants to be that flagship killer. They want to tackle and take on the big guys, and well, they've almost done it. They just need to improve the cameras, tweak the battery life, and give us wireless charging, and then they've done it, really. Thank you so much for watching this video. So we'll have a follow-up with my exact battery specs there, and also let you know of anything else after using it for about a week or so. And please do like and subscribe for more videos on this. I will have the Zenfone 6 as well to review, and the normal OnePlus 7 at a later date.